Hello and welcome to our Greece travel vlog. We have the pleasure of going to Athens, Santorini, Mykonos, all over Greece. And here we have our takeoff. And I am so excited to share some parts of our trip with you. We've truly had an amazing time, but it started off with an extremely long travel day. I had never been on a plane for this long in my life. First, we had a 2-hour flight, followed by a 9-hour flight, and we survived somehow. Hello, we have landed in Greece.
We did it.
We did it. Wow. We were exhausted. So we had a 2-hour flight and then a 9-hour flight overnight. And we landed in Athens at like around noon, got to our hotel, settled around 1. We have been asleep since. We did not bounce back at all. So, but now we're getting ready and we're about to go to the first thing on the agenda, and that is a little meal with the other people in our little travel group. And so that's just downstairs in the hotel, right?
Mm-hmm. In the
lob. In the lob. So we'll see. Feeling good. Really interested to see how we sleep tonight, because that will be here sooner rather than later.
4-hour nap might have an impact.
Yeah. But we're feeling good. We're really excited. Tomorrow will be our first full day in Athens, so I'm really excited for that. So here we go. Welcome to Greece. So while I did not get any video of our first dinner, it was delicious, don't worry. I got plenty of our first breakfast. Every breakfast was so good, and this first hotel did not disappoint. It was a great way to fuel up before we started our morning bright and early at the Acropolis. There was so much to see at this place, and we wisely started early before the big crowd started. Probably our favorite thing was Mars Hill, which to the right of the entrance is the place where Paul stood and spoke in Acts, right to the right there. And wow, that was just really cool to see that spot and to think about what he was looking at as we headed up there. And so as you just saw, the line was incredibly long, but man, it was worth it to hike our way up and see the Parthenon, the Temple of Athena Nike. Everything that was up there was so beautiful and breathtaking. While parts of it have been repaired, it was still so cool to think of this was what they saw. We still, like I said, were particularly in awe because we were thinking back to the book of Acts, and man, super nerdy, I guess, of us, but it was so cool. This was definitely our favorite part of Athens. The city was not our fave, but it was worth it to trek through the scariness, the traffic of it all, to see these beautiful sights. And just the view of the city was amazing. It's wild to think what all this has taken place in this city, and we really took it in. So it was getting kind of hot, so we were happy to move along. Next, we were headed on our guided bus tour around the city of Athens. There is simply too much to even name. I could not have possibly recorded it all and taken it in, but one of the coolest parts was definitely the Olympic Stadium. This was so breathtaking and pretty neat that you can pay to run there. I kind of wish we had had time to do that. But we moved along our bus tour, saw some really cool sculptures throughout the city, and then we got to see some other important government buildings, churches, just other landmarks throughout the city. Each of these buildings is beautiful, and the architecture is simply amazing. Before we moved on to our next stop, we got to see the changing of the guards, which may have been a little anticlimactic, a little underwhelming, but still pretty neat. So yeah, that was that. Next, our awesome tour guide Nico walked us to Plaka, which is the typical kind of tourist spot when you're in Athens. It has a ton of cool shops and restaurants, and we ate a delicious one with this awesome chicken gyro. This was a delicious meal and fueled us up for some exploring of some souvenir shops and just walking around and getting familiar with the city. We passed by this awesome place I had heard about called Little Kooks. This is probably the one place I regret not going.
It was a quirky little dessert shop that a lot of people recommended, and we just did not have the time. But we did make time today to go get gelato. This would be the first of many gelato trips for us, and man, what a highlight of the trip those were. We then made our way back to the hotel and enjoyed a little time just sitting by the pool. We were getting hungry, but didn't really want to venture back out, so we ate at the hotel restaurant, also on the rooftop. This restaurant was really cool and had an awesome view of the Acropolis. The Acropolis is lit up at night, so if you eat later, which we don't because we are early dinner people, you could see that. We had some delicious bread. I had a basil linguine, and Cameron had a homemade pappardelle, both delicious. We then just enjoyed the views again, kind of took in the sights and read a little bit before calling it a night. We have a big day today, so it's time to get moving.
Hello. Wow. Okay, so we are done with Athens for now. Had an awesome first day. We were a little nervy at some points. We are just not city people. And it is a city, if you didn't know that. But the Acropolis was awesome. Definitely worth it, like, to deal with our uncomfiness to go and to see some awesome spots. Cameron was definitely pretty hype about some stops on the tour. So that was really cool. Highly recommend that. But this morning we are leaving this hotel, hopping on a ferry that is very, very long, and going to Santorini. But this is super cool. We are super blessed to be here, super thankful in the ranking.
It is indeed.
So we love that. So now we are off to Santorini.
So to get to Santorini, we had to head down to the port to board a ferry. I did not expect the ferry ride to be as nice as it was, honestly. I guess I just didn't expect it to be so pleasant. It was long, however, a 6.5 hour trip, but no worries. We got to stretch our legs at a couple of the different stops and see some of the islands that we weren't getting to visit. That was really cool because I guess I just don't really know much about the geography in that area, which, who knows, that says more about me than anything else, I think. Of course, fueled up with a Coke Zero and enjoyed some time reading in between naps, of course. We were constantly in and out of sleep. We also enjoyed this little spinach croissant, and Cameron got a ham sandwich, and they were actually pretty good. I wish I would have been able to get another one on the ferry rides we took later. We finally approached Santorini, and man, was it worth it. I did not realize what this island actually looked like. I did not realize there had been a volcano eruption, which maybe I'm just silly for not knowing anything about Greece history. This side where the volcano did erupt and destroyed part of the island is called the caldera, and it was really awesome to have views from there. We drove up that in our little van and got dropped off at our hotel room.
We have arrived to our place in Santorini. We were on a ferry for 6.5 hours, but it was not too bad, all things considered. We slept a lot of it, and so it could have been much worse. But now we have arrived in Santorini, and we are meeting in like 2 hours to walk around and then get dinner. And so I'm going to show you a quick little, what do you call it, hotel room tour, and pick out my outfit, and then we'll go. Okay, so immediately impressed. We love a rounded archway moment. This is the bed. You can hear me chomping my gum for sure. Looks pretty good. How's it feel?
Pretty soft.
Pretty soft. There's also this bonus bed in the corner if one of us gets too hot, which is bound to happen actually. Next we have our bathroom. Pretty nice, pretty nice. I don't know if I like it as much as the other one, but I think I'm gonna like the shower more. I think I am. It's like a tub. I don't know. We'll see how we feel. But pretty nice bathroom. Come out here. There's a little closet, desk, TV, cute little couch, and probably my favorite is the back. I'll take you out there in just a second, but I'm not gonna talk because our neighbors might be there and they're our friends. Don't ever think I'm weird. Are there windows out that side too?
Yeah.
Little windows everywhere. So yeah, so this is the view from the back.
And here is a better look at the porch and the pool in front of us. We had such a cool spot here. This is probably our favorite place that we stayed the whole trip. This resort was absolutely gorgeous. I could not get over it. Like I said, definitely my favorite place. Santorini overall was probably the best stop of the whole trip. Like I said, the resort itself was beautiful, but the walk alone into town was such a treat. Very quick, very short, and that's where we headed for dinner. There was a lot to see here, lots of restaurants, lots of stops, but eventually we landed on our dinner spot, which, like most of the restaurants, has an amazing view of the caldera, and we got to watch the sunset. It was really something. I can't get over it. This was one of my top meals, though. I had the kebab, Cameron had the moussaka. Both were amazing. I don't think there's a bad place to pick to eat, honestly, at this place, because each one has an awesome view, each one has an amazing menu. And after dinner, we went on our own, exploring the city a little bit, seeing it all lit up at night, before ending the night with, you guessed it, some gelato. I would have to say that this day was my favorite day. I loved exploring Santorini, and it's probably because we had a really cool tour guide.
So, are you ready for the walk? Excellent.
We started with another early day as we were driven up and then walked up to the highest point on the island, a monastery. This is pretty common for the highest point in these areas to have monasteries, and wow, what a view. Makes sense to put a place like this looking out with this kind of view. We spent just a little bit of time up here admiring the sights to see, learning a little bit more about the monastery itself before we headed to Megalochori. This was a local village, and so we got to see kind of what more of the local life looks like. It was obviously quieter than in town, but still had that same uniform structure to all their buildings.
This is a typical village.
Not only did we get to walk around the village, but we also got to see inside a private home, which I thought was so wild that we were allowed to do that. But walking through this part of the town honestly really made it feel like, how cool would it be to live here? And like I said, our tour guide definitely made it. Cameron and I are still quoting some of the things that he said. I can't say enough how much I enjoy the design of all these buildings. Like I said, the uniformity of it really adds so much character, and you kind of think that it wouldn't, but it really makes it so magical. After exploring this local village, we then headed to the archaeological site of Akrotiri. This just goes to show again how little research I did on this trip and what we would be doing. But Akrotiri is believed to inspire the story of the lost city of Atlantis. They are actively digging up this site to discover more about it and to hopefully prove that theory. But this site was covered in ash by the volcano, and they have been digging and digging as funds have come in to really understand what happened here, when it happened, and what that city looked like. This part of the trip was more captivating than I expected it to be when I heard that that's where we were going. But after that, we headed to lunch at this place called 41, which was right on Black Beach. This was a really cool experience. I wish we could have stayed here longer. This was one of the best Greek salads that I had. I had their Santorinian salad, and Black Beach is, like its name says, covered in black rocks, which was gorgeous. Cameron got a little pasta, and we munched on those things before diving deeper into the water. If I could have changed one thing about this day, I probably would have wanted to stay at the beach just a little bit longer to enjoy it, but it was still really fun. After that, we headed to the winery, which was a little bit away, and it was also really funny because Cameron and I don't drink, so we had some apple juice, but the snacks were also really good. We then were taken up to Ia, which you have probably heard of. Ia is where the iconic blue domes can be found. Granted, there are blue domes everywhere, because if you see a blue dome, it's a church. But 3 are found in this city right next to each other, and it is where almost every iconic Greece picture is taken, as you can see. But this was really fun. We did have to wait in the line to take a photo, which I thought was kind of funny, but I mean, I get it. I stood in the line, didn't I? But again, the views of the caldera are breathtaking. I can't use that word enough. Breathtaking. Everywhere you go, super cool. There's the line in the back, as you can see, and other random strangers. We then got some time to wander around, and we looked at some more souvenirs. Donkeys are a big souvenir piece here because donkeys are used to carry things through the small streets. Greece was in the middle of a heat wave, so I fueled up with a little Coke Zero once again. This would be a theme of the trip before we headed back to the hotel for a little rest and reading by the small private pool right outside our room. That was a super cool luxury that we had. This resort actually had 5 pools, and I wish we would have gotten to explore all of them. That night for dinner, we had dinner at the hotel. This was a buffet style, not my favorite of the week. There were a lot of flies around here too, but look at that dessert spread. I mean, it can't have a bad meal if that's your dessert spread. We got to try a lot that night, and that was really fun. We also got to sit with the other younger couple on our trip and got to know them a little bit more. Our entire group of 10 then walked out to see the sunset over the caldera. It was a little bit foggy, but was still really beautiful. We even took a group picture, which was kind of fun. I think the group dynamic wasn't something that I really thought about going in. I didn't expect it to affect that much of our trip, but it was really fun to get to know these strangers as we traveled Greece together. As we went back into our resort, we actually ended up staying up late playing some cards with them by the pool. We started our free day in Santorini with a little breakfast and some reading by the pool. We definitely wanted to take it easy and really relax on this day. We thought it would be nice to have a chill day in each place. We did end up walking to lunch in town and got probably the best chicken gyro I've ever had in my entire life. I am not exaggerating. I want this right now. This was so good. This was one of our favorite meals for sure, from a place called Yogi's right on the square, and man, what a treat that was. After a relaxing morning, it was really nice to walk and get such a delicious meal. We used this as a good opportunity to buy some souvenirs, went in a couple of shops. We knew that Santorini was a place that we loved, so we wanted to really remember it. We got one of these little zip-up pullovers, as well as some things for our siblings and our parents. We then just took the opportunity to walk around and honestly take a couple of photos. We wanted to really remember this city and this area, and so we explored it a little bit more. Man, I can't get over how beautiful it is. These pink flowers are definitely a highlight. If you know me, I love the color pink, so that everywhere definitely brightened my mood every time we went on a walk. We then stopped by the grocery store and were shocked to see how much cheaper the water is, not at restaurants. So we got one of those, and of course, another Coke Zero. We then walked back to our hotel and sat by a different pool. Like I said, there were 5 to choose from. So we sat there, read a little bit. It was really refreshing to just hop in. There were a few people out, but it wasn't nearly as crowded as I expected it to be. So that was a nice way to kind of wrap up our afternoon and our evening before deciding what we wanted to do for dinner.
Wow. Hello, it is our last night in Santorini, and we are all dolled up and ready to go to dinner. This is our first dinner in Santorini by ourselves, so we thought we would look really cute. And we're gonna get gelato after we've already decided. So we're hoping to get a little seafood tonight. So we got a couple of recommendations from our little travel guide, but we will see what we find. So I'm pretty hungry. We had a really good day at the pool, and I finished my book, and it's just been great.
It's been a really good day, yeah.
Having a great time.
These are our outfits. Wow, looking so handsome. Look at him, he looks so handsome. Amazing. So
I don't know what that was.
We're hungry.
But I did it.
And excited. Cameron picked out the perfect place for dinner. It wasn't far from where we ate lunch, so we strolled right into town and walked in. The greenery here was gorgeous. I honestly just wanted to look at all of the plants. It was so amazing. But like we said, we were in the mood for some seafood, so we both got some shrimp dishes. One of us got the shrimp linguine and the other one got the grilled shrimp. These were delicious, but listen, I'm going to be so honest with you. I was not expecting the prawns to still have their faces. Wow, the eyeballs just right there. That was definitely weird. I guess I should have known that was going to happen, but it did not deter me from enjoying this delicious meal. Cameron really did a good job in picking out where we were going to eat this night. We split them, and then they gave us this free dessert since it was our first time in Santorini. But again, we had our mindset on gelato, so after picking up a few more souvenirs, that is where we headed. You're about to see the first of many cats that we saw on this trip. As we head to Mykonos in our next video, you will see even more of these little guys, so that was also such a fun part of this trip. But here is Zoto's. We went to Zoto's Cafe the night before, which was technically the wrong one that our guy recommended. He told us to go to Zoto's and we went to the wrong one. But once we got to this destination, there was no doubt this is where we were supposed to be. This gelato was so good, probably the best of the trip. Mint chocolate chip really does have my heart. After that, we walked back to our beautiful resort, enjoyed the sunset once again on that walk by the caldera. Man, I miss Santorini. This is the place to be. We ended the night with a little more reading by the pool. I started a new book and we headed off to bed. It was now time to leave Santorini and we were extremely sad. We got our last breakfast at this resort and I realized I haven't shown it, but here are their awesome chocolate croissants. All right, we are about to leave our place in Santorini. Truly treated us well. Right, I really enjoyed this place. This is beautiful. I'm really sad to leave, but I'm excited for our next stop. We'll be heading to Mykonos. Don't really know what that's gonna be like. Supposedly more beaches, more people out and about, which I felt like there was enough people out and about here. So we'll see, but we've had a great time. This will probably end the Santorini little bit. So thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Let's go catch a ferry.
Let's go catch a ferry. Thank you so much for tuning in on the first half of our trip to Greece. I just can't say enough how lucky we feel to have gotten to go on this trip. Not only was it a much needed time of rest, but I feel like I learned a lot about Greece, about myself. They say Santorini is the romantic of the islands, and I definitely felt that. So I was sad to leave on this ferry, but Mykonos, here we come.